Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to dive deep into something truly transformative, and that's the connection between our emotional health and physical inflammation, and how addressing both simultaneously can create profound healing. You know, one of those pivotal moments in my own journey came after watching my mother's chronic anxiety manifest as cancer. This devastating experience opened my eyes as how to unprocessed emotional stress actually creates physical disease. And it set me on a path to help others avoid the same fate. I personally experienced this truth during my own professional rebirth. In my 30s, I found myself at a crossroads, if you will, a crossroads of leaving an established career to pursue my own Doctor of Acupuncture and Chinese Medicine degree. That transformation taught me that the discomfort of growth, while challenging, is where our greatest healing happens. Today, I want to share with you 4 powerful connections between inflammation, emotional health, and physical renewal that transformed my approach to healing, both for myself and for my clients as well. So, what if your resentment is literally making you sick? What if the data behind your feelings could validate what you've always known intuitively? What if your inflammation isn't just physical, but emotional too? And what if your body holds what your mind isn't ready to process? These are the questions that changed everything for me. And today, they might just change everything for you as well too. So let's jump right in here now between the relationship between resentment and resilience. So something that many of us carry but rarely connect our physical health to is resentment. Is your resentment literally making you sick? This isn't just a metaphorical question. It's backed by science. When my mother's chronic anxiety, for example, manifested as cancer, I witnessed firsthand how our physical and emotional health are literally inseparable. My own journey taught me how unprocessed emotions deplete our physical resources in ways we don't even expect. So here's the physical cost of emotional suppression. Chronic inflammation from unprocessed emotions, increased cortisol depleting our immune resources, extra energy required to contain emotions, muscle tension from emotional holding patterns, digestive disruption for emotional suppression. You might recognize these signs that resentment is affecting your own health. Things like exhaustion that won't resolve, recurring illness or slow recovery, tension in specific body locations like the neck and shoulders, digestive issues triggered by specific people, sleep disruption with mental rumination. The immunity-emotion connection is profound. Research has actually shown that resentment activates inflammatory pathways and emotional processing improves immune markers. Natural killer cells actually decrease during suppression. Bioreactivation correlates emotionally, and wound healing slows during unresolved conflict. I spent years managing others' emotions before learning to honor my own. My body's inflammation reflected my life's inflammation, a physical manifestation of emotional suppression and resentment I couldn't express. And just like in my career transition, where I had to navigate leaving an established identity behind, dealing with my resentment required courage. For years, I thought independence was strength. Growing up with my mother's unpredictable mood swings and my father's emotional unavailability through workaholism, I learned early that depending on others was risky. I prided myself on not needing anyone, on being the strong one, on never showing vulnerability. And building physical resilience is essential for this work. So things like nutritional support for stress recovery, movement releasing emotional tension, sleep quality supporting emotional processing, nervous system regulation creating capacity, and metabolic balance improving stress response. Emotional processing techniques that can transform your health include conscious awareness without judgment, physical expression of contained emotions, boundary setting, preventing new resentments, and completion rituals for historical patterns, and language to actually give voice to our emotions to help expand our capacity. And what if your avoidance is nothing more than shame? I think shame is the underlying current that is the emotion deep beneath everything, shame and rejection. Sometimes we have to do hard things because they are true things. And learning to process emotions instead of suppressing them is one of those hard, necessary truths. The relationship between resentment and resilience is clear. The emotional burdens we carry literally compromise our physical ability to recover and thrive. And when we release them, we don't just feel better emotionally, we then create the conditions for physical healing and true fulfilling relationships with others. When we can actually get to functional testing for root emotional causes, because your body is trying to tell you something. And I ask you, are you listening? After watching my mother's anxiety manifest as cancer, I devoted my life to understanding the physical roots of emotional struggles. And I discovered comprehensive testing reveals what conventional approaches oftentimes miss. I remember sitting alone one Friday evening, physically present, but completely disconnected from myself and others. My phone hadn't rung in days. I hadn't reached out to anyone either. The most profound loneliness isn't being alone, it's being disconnected while surrounded by people. This disconnection manifested in a number of ways. Physically, my lab work showed what my mind refused to acknowledge. My body was in distress, trying desperately to get my attention. Let's talk about what conventional medicine often misses with "it's all in your head" type of excuse and dismissal. That emotional symptoms often have a physical origin. Lab testing validates your lived experience. Data provides objective markers and subjective symptoms. Testing reveals patterns conventional medicine misses. And your intuition about your body deserves validation. Key lab markers for emotional health include cortisol patterns affecting anxiety and depression, inflammatory markers influencing mood and cognition, blood sugar stability impacting emotional regulation, and thyroid hormones controlling energy and motivation, and even gut health markers affecting neurotransmitter production. This validation through data transforms healing journeys. Like my client Jackie, with 7 years of unexplained pain following a minor accident, she tried everything, specialists, MRIs, physical therapy, you name it, with little relief until we identified the inflammatory markers and gut issues conventional testing had missed. This connection between symptoms and testing is illuminating. Anxiety correlates with cortisol dysregulation, depression links to inflammatory markers, mood swings match blood sugar patterns, fatigue reflects mitochondrial function, and irritability indicates hormonal imbalances. And when building my practice after graduating, I approached it differently than most new practitioners. Unlike traditional graduates, I brought my business background to create a unique model that combines ancient healing wisdom with modern testing. And that this allows me to create personalized protocols based on your specific data. So targeted interventions addressing your unique biochemistry, nutrition plans supporting your individual needs, supplement protocols filling specific deficiencies, lifestyle modifications matched to test results, and progress tracking through objective markers. The testing difference is profound. It eliminates guesswork and generic approaches, saves time and money on ineffective treatments, provides timeline for realistic expectations, creates a roadmap for prioritizing interventions, and offers validation for previously dismissed symptoms. This common denominator between all of my patterns is first me, and secondly, that keeping myself distracted has been a way for me to self-sabotage and keep me in constant striving mode as opposed to realization and goal achievement mode. Beyond testing, we need to honor the complete picture. Combining objective data with subjective experience, integrating lab results with your lived reality, honoring your intuition alongside testing, creating protocols and addressing both numbers and needs, and building healing plans as unique as your own biochemistry. My approach rejects one-size-fits-all solutions. Your biochemistry is as unique as your fingerprint, and your healing journey should honor that individuality. So let's jump into this mind-body inflammation cycle. Ask you, is your inflammation mental, physical, or both? For years, I lived in a constant state of wired but tired feelings, simultaneously exhausted, yet unable to relax. This pattern taught me that inflammation isn't just about what you eat, it's about what's eating you. During my career transition, the breaking point arrived during a particularly challenging semester when I questioned everything. I was exhausted, financially strained, and watching my savings dwindle. the voice of doubt grew louder. You are too old for this. You should have stayed in your stable career. What if this doesn't work out? That stress created a physical inflammatory response that further depleted my resources. So let me explain how this cycle works. First, let's start with emotional stress triggering physical inflammation. Stress hormones activate inflammatory pathways. Chronic worry increases pro-inflammatory cytokines. Emotional trauma induces system-wide inflammation. Rumination creates sustained inflammatory responses, and sleep disruption from anxiety worsens inflammation. On the flip side, physical inflammation profoundly affects your mood. So inflammatory markers cross that blood-brain barrier. Cytokines alter neurotransmitter production. Brain inflammation affects mood centers and motivation centers. Inflammatory mediators disrupt hormonal balance, and mitochondrial dysfunction impacts mental energy. You may recognize these signs that you're caught in the cycle, things like low mood following inflammatory foods, emotional reactivity during physical illness, and pain flare-ups during stress, brain fog worsening with inflammatory triggers, and even digestive issues manifesting during anxious periods. And when I think back to about what I want to do with my business, about what's going to require of me, is a different version of myself. My Phoenix process began when I discovered the inseparable connection between emotional and physical inflammation. Breaking this cycle requires addressing both sides simultaneously. So emotional interventions include things like nervous system regulation, reducing inflammation, emotional processing, preventing stress accumulation, connection and co-regulation, inducing anti-inflammatory states, meaning-making, changing physiological responses, and mindfulness practices altering genetic expression. The physical interventions are equally important. Things like anti-inflammatory nutrition, movement releasing inflammatory mediators, sleep optimization supporting emotional regulation, gut health restoration, and reducing environmental toxins. I discovered that our mental and physical health are directly linked. The chronic stress we experience materializes physical symptoms through inflammatory pathways that affect everything from mood to energy to pain. The integrated approach is what creates lasting transformation. And addressing both sides of the cycle simultaneously, we recognize the inseparable nature of mind and body. This creates upward spirals of improvement, breaking inflammatory patterns from multiple angles, and honoring the complete mind-body system. I learned that connection isn't just a nice to have, it's a medicine. Research confirms that what indigenous cultures have always known, that healing happens in relationship and not in isolation. Our nervous systems are designed to co-regulate with others. Our immune systems function better when we feel genuinely connected, and even our gene expression changes positively in response to authentic belonging. Breaking this cycle requires an integrated approach that addresses both the physical triggers of inflammation and emotional patterns that sustain it. So let's talk about the concept of cellular decluttering, I like to call it. So spring cleaning from the inside out. Your body holds what your mind isn't ready to process. What's stored in your cells, I ask you, right? So I've devoted my life to understanding how our physical bodies store both environmental toxins and emotional residue. This knowledge transformed my approach to healing. And in my 30s, when I decided to completely change career paths, I was navigating this journey with a mortgage, an established professional identity, and the complex reality of starting over. What most people didn't see was the profound inner conflicts this transition actually created. On the surface, I projected confidence about my new direction, but internally, I questioned whether I was making a colossal mistake. That stress created cellular toxicity that needed addressing at the deepest level. So let me share how toxins affect your emotions. Environmental chemicals disrupt hormone signaling, and then toxins create mitochondrial dysfunction and fatigue. Heavy metals in the environment affect neurotransmitter function. Detox pathways are overloaded, increases oxidative stress, and chemical burden raises inflammatory markers. You might recognize these signs your cells need support. Things like brain fog, unexplained fatigue, heightened sensitivity to foods, scents, and chemicals, and mood swings not correlated with circumstances, skin issues even reflecting internal inflammation. The constant need for achievement is self-deception. I'm working on detaching from my need for constant achievement, feeling so clearly now that I need to incorporate more body-based somatic exercises and not intellectualize everything so much. Understanding how detoxification pathways affect emotional health is crucial. So the liver processes stress hormones and neurotransmitters. Kidneys filter metabolic waste affecting brain function. The gut eliminates hormone metabolites affecting mood. Lymphatic system clears cellular waste impacting energy. Skin releases toxins affecting systemic overload. And just as I had to let go of an old professional identity to embrace my new path, cellular renewal requires releasing what no longer serves you. Nutrition for cellular renewal includes things like sulfur-rich foods supporting detox pathways, antioxidants protecting cells during detoxification, fiber binding and eliminating mobilize toxins, hydration supporting all elimination pathways, and phytonutrients enhancing enzyme function. Lifestyle practices for cellular support include complement natural approaches. So movement stimulating lymphatics, sweating through appropriate exercise, sleep optimizing brain cleansing, and breath work enhancing oxygenation and stress reduction reducing toxic burden. My own journey taught me that cellular health is foundational to emotional well-being. And when our detoxification systems are overwhelmed, our capacity for emotional regulation diminishes in direct proportion. This spring cleaning at the cellular level creates a profound transformation. Mental clarity replacing brain fog, emotional stability with fewer unexplained swings, physical energy supporting emotional capacity, intuitive connection with clearer signals, and resilience to life to handle life's challenges. Instead of giving up on my new career path, I leaned into the discomfort. I realized that my life experience wasn't a disadvantage, it was my greatest asset. And similarly, the process of cellular renewal isn't about fighting against your body, but working with its own innate wisdom. And my approach addresses root causes at the cellular level while honoring the emotional impact of toxic burden. The transformation runs deeper than just feeling better. It's about creating capacity for authentic living. And this journey proved that our greatest transformations often come when we're willing to let go of what no longer serves us. Just as I had to release an old professional identity to embrace my calling, cellular renewal requires releasing what's holding us back at the deepest level. And as we wrap up today, I want to acknowledge that healing is never a linear process. The connections between things like inflammation, emotional patterns, and physical renewal run deep. And addressing them requires patience, requires compassion, and requires consistent care. My Phoenix process began when I stopped abandoning myself and started acknowledging these patterns. The old part of me that had to die so that this new part could live. This transformation requires honoring both the physical and emotional experience. And today when clients come to me struggling with chronic health issues, relationship challenges, or a pervasive sense of emptiness despite doing everything right, I recognize those patterns of disconnection. I've seen how they've isolated themselves, sometimes physically, but more often emotionally, because I've been there too. My purpose is now to be the translator I wished I'd had during my own health struggles, to help others understand that their bodies aren't betraying them, but trying desperately to guide them back to balance. So from self-abandonment to self-discovery, this is the journey of coming home to yourself. My purpose is to help people realize their worthiness, to guide you from self-abandonment to self-discovery, to help you break cycles of chronic stress, anxiety, and disconnection that manifest as physical disease. So if today's video resonated with you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, forward it on to someone you think would benefit. You truly have the power to make a difference in someone else's life and the world at large. Never forget your power to be a ripple effect and create good and to pass it forward.